whether the company is a subsidiary. The only other fields that you will need to complete is whether the company has any subsidiaries, associates, or joint ventures. All remaining fields will be grayed out and can be disregarded. We have also incorporated validation logic into the tool to help identify non-compliant or inaccurate information. For example, if you have indicated that the company is a subsidiary, but not it itself is not sorry, if you have indicated that the company has a subsidiary, but it itself is not a subsidiary, this will mean that the company is an ultimate holding company. The system will expect a consolidated set of financial statements to be prepared. If only a company level set of financial statements is uploaded, a validation error will be triggered. If you select the field highlighted in orange, that the company is both a subsidiary and a parent company that prepares consolidated financial statements, the field asking whether the company has any subsidiaries, associates, or joint ventures will be automatically populated as yes. As mentioned earlier, this option takes precedence over the two subsequent options, so please ensure that you have selected the correct option before proceeding. If you have selected the third option highlighted in orange, that is that the company has a Singapore incorporated parent that prepares consolidated financial statements, you will be required to fill in the following fields. First, you'll need to provide the UEN of the Singapore parent that prepares the consolidated financial statements. Second, you'll need to indicate whether the Singapore incorporated parent files the consolidated financial statements with ACRA. And third, you'll need to indicate whether the company has any subsidiaries, associates, or joint ventures. If the Singapore incorporated company does not file the consolidated set of financial statements with ACRA, and the and your and your company only prepares the company level set of financial statements, you'll be required to disclose in its financial statements how the consolidated financial statements can be obtained. This is a requirement under the accounting standards. In this case, please provide the direct web link to the consolidated financial statements in the relevant Xbrl field. If no consolidated financial statements have been prepared or are publicly available, you may leave this field blank. Lastly, if you select that the company has a foreign incorporated parent that prepares consolidated financial statements, you'll be required to fill in the following fields. First, indicate whether there is any Singapore incorporated parent. And second, indicate whether the company has any subsidiaries, associates, or joint venture. Similarly, if the company has subsidiaries, associates, or joint venture, but did not prepare a set of consolidated financial statements, the company will be required to disclose how the consolidated financial statements can be obtained. This is a requirement under the accounting standards. If the consolidated financial statements are not prepared in English, you may still provide the direct link to where they can be accessed. However, if the foreign parent financial statements is not published or is not publicly available, you may leave this field blank. Now, let me walk you through some common scenarios that you may encounter. Scenario 1, what if your parent company or none of your parent company, like your ultimate parent company, prepares a consolidated financial statements? In this case, you should select the option that closely match to where your parent company is incorporated, depending on whether the parent company is a Singapore incorporated parent or a foreign incorporated parent. You may select option A for Singapore incorporated parent or option B for foreign incorporated parent. If you have a Singapore incorporated parent and you select option A, for the field asking whether the Singapore parent files the consolidated set of financial statements with ACRA, please select No. This applies even if the Singapore Incorporated parent files its company level set of financial statements with ACRA, as they do not constitute a set of consolidated financial statements. And for the last few, asking for the website or avenue where the consolidated financial statements can be obtained, you may leave it blank. Please note that if your company has subsidiaries, associates, or joint venture and is not exempted under accounting standards from consolidation, your company will still be required to prepare a consolidated set of financial statements. If you have a foreign incorporated parent, you may select option B. And for the last few, asking where the consolidated financial statements can be found, please leave it blank if no consolidated financial statements have been prepared. Again, if your company has subsidiaries, associates, or joint ventures and is not exempted from accounting standards from consolidation, the company is required to prepare a set of consolidated financial statements. Okay, scenario 2. What if your parent company is a limited liability partnership, a REIT, or a trust that does not have UEN that is similar to Singapore Incorporated companies? In this case, please leave the UEN field blank. You'll also need to reach out to us for directly for guidance on the submission of the consolidated financial statements. If the financial statements are publicly available, you may indicate where it can be found in the relevant field. Scenario 3. What if the parent is an investment entity? If the parent company is an investment entity and is exempted under accounting standards from preparing consolidated financial statements, for the field whether the company is a subsidiary, the company should indicate the option based on where the company is incorporated. Either option A for Singapore Incorporated parent or option B for foreign incorporated parent. If option A is selected, please also indicate whether the Singapore Incorporated parent files the financial statements with ACRA. If the Singapore Incorporated parent does not file its financial statements with ACRA, please select No for that field. Where the company has subsidiaries, associates, or joint venture, the parent does not file the financial statements with ACRA, and the company itself does not prepare a consolidated set of financial statements, the last field will appear. In this field, you may indicate that the company is an investment entity and is therefore exempted from consolidation under accounting standards. If option B is selected and the company has subsidiaries, associates, or joint ventures, the last field will similarly appear. You may indicate in that field that the company is an investment entity and is therefore exempted from consolidation. Before I conclude, I would like to briefly highlight other enhancements that have been incorporated into the updated tool. To improve the data quality, users will need to generate an online review copy to check and ensure that the FS to be uploaded are complete and legible. These will address the issue of missing sections in the FS file. For companies which encounters issue generating the online review copy, we suggest that you generate an offline copy for review first. If you are unable to generate the offline review copy, this is an indication that your text block may contain restricted data or is corrupted. Do contact us if you encounter this issue and we'll help you with it. To enhance user experience, we have simplified a number of business rules so that exemptions are automatically granted in certain scenarios, removing the need for manual application. For example, the financial statements are prepared using SFRS for small entities. Companies are automatically exempted from presenting prior year reconciliation for property, plant, and equipment. We have also refined validation error messages and enhanced guidance notes to provide clearer assistance. Additionally, companies are no longer required to submit PDF financial statements when full Xbrl are uploaded. Lastly, on the accounting standards update, we have added an additional accounting framework that is SFRS for reduced disclosure requirements for eligible companies that choose to apply for it. We have also updated the taxonomy for insurance companies. Next, I'll proceed to go through the frequently asked questions. So for group employee count, do you need to include companies from subsidiaries worldwide? Yes, you should include the employee count from all your subsidiaries, regardless of where they are located. The drop-down menu provides a range option, so there's no need to provide a precise figure. Simply select the range that best covers your group total employee count. It is also important to note that if you are not preparing a consolidated financial statements, you should still indicate the employees from all subsidiaries, including those that is under your ultimate parent company. For question 2, do you determine whether your company is a subsidiary? The determination should be based on the definition set out in the accounting standards. Similarly, the definition of joint ventures and associate should also follow those that is provided in the accounting standards. Question 3, which parent should I indicate if there are multiple levels of parent companies? You should indicate the level of parent company that prepares consolidated financial statements, which include your company itself. If there are multiple levels, please identify the relevant parent based on these criteria. Question 4, if I have dormant and overseas subsidiaries, should you include them? Yes, you should. Please indicate yes for the field asking whether the company has subsidiaries, associates, or joint ventures, regardless of whether those subsidiaries are dormant or incorporated overseas. And lastly, for question 5, what if my foreign parents' financial statements are publicly available but not in English? If the financial statements are publicly available, you may still provide the relevant information and the link to where they can be accessed, even if they are not in English. However, if the foreign parent's financial statements are not publicly available, you may leave the data field blank. This brings us to the end of my presentation. Thank you. I would like to hand over the time to Sherilyn for the last segment.
Thank you, Alicia, for sharing all the insights.